Welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to be looking at three pens that I have, and they're the only three pens that I have from an American pen manufacturer, Bexley. What has renewed my interest in these pens was this lovely green acrylic pen that I was able to pick up from the Long Island Pen Show from Toys in the Attic. As I mentioned, I did a brief review of this in the video on the Long Island Pen Show. So what struck me first was the quality of the acrylic in the pen, the chatoyancy, just a great looking pen, and it's a great green color. Got a lot of mileage out of this during St. Paddy's Day yesterday. So that was nice. And what was nice is I made a comment that it has the Bexley steel nib in it. A nice two-tone, beautiful looking nib, nice size. But I have that on my Americana, which I did a video on a while ago. And that nib required a lot of work to get it to write to the level that I wanted, and that was a medium. This is a fine, and it wrote well first time right out of the box. So again, a little bit of inconsistencies there, but like I said, I was able to get the Americana nib working. What I wanted to do is use this pen as an illustration to talk about like a tier 3 pen manufacturer. I've talked a little bit about vintage tier 3, and those manufacturers add a lot of unique characteristics. It could have been the look of the pen, the material the pen was made out of, maybe an interesting take on a filling mechanism. Just all in all, they had a little niche, and from my interest in pens, it was a niche that I really wanted to enjoy and explore. And I just love writing instruments, so that always piques my interest. So when we look at this pen, it's about average size, I would say, for a pen. It just unscrews, which is, the classic method. It posts very well. It's light, it's comfortable in the hand. We'll give you some of those dimensions. It just has a black section here, but it's a fairly long section, and the threads are not intrusive, so you can grip it any place you want along that section, and it'll work fine. It's a cartridge converter fill, which is also fine with me. And I have my Franklin Christoph Emerald 337 ink in there. So we'll see when we do a writing sample about how that looks. This pen also has an acrylic smell to it, which I've heard some people say that they do not like. It's very common in some of the Noodler's pens. I happen to find it interesting. I guess I would find napalm in the morning interesting too, but it's one of those things where it's part of the nature of the material. I don't think there's a way of avoiding it and not detracting from the material itself. So when you look at this pen, I would say it's very classic, and a lot of the classic design of pens are based on materials and manufacturing methods. So the one thing that's obvious is nothing extra on this pen. There is a wide metal band here that's plated in gold. Common here to add strength to the bottom of the cap, especially for posting. And also, obviously, those people that are into vintage will notice that sometimes this area here will crack or break, and that obviously is not something that you want. Clip is a classic metal clip, relatively strong. What's nice is the way the clip has a little bit of extra material on the end, so it's not just a typical stamped clip. I think there was something soldered in there. And you got a band here at the top, and the band's not there for aesthetic reasons. It could probably be hidden, but the band's there because this finial on the cap on the top of the cap is screwed in, and we'll take a look at that when I bring out my trusty LED. The other thing that you'll notice is some pens will also have a band here at the bottom of the barrel. I think that's more to balance the look of the pen than it has any functional requirements to it. But without a band here, this is one solid barrel. So obviously that meant it could be used for an eyedropper fill. So I wanted to just kind of quickly go through how that differs from this Americana model from Bexley, which I would consider a step up from the Model 820, which is the model that Bexley describes on their website for the green pen. It's not available in green on their website. Toys in the Attic said that was unique to them, so it's probably why you didn't see it. They also had like a red and a blue, I think, that were there. I love the way the color. This is a sandstone color. I love the facets in this pen. I did a full review on this, so you don't need to go into detail, but I just wanted to do a comparison. So you notice the same type of mechanism was used here to attach the clip to the cap. And the clip is basically the same clip that's on the other one, so that hasn't changed. There's a little bit of decoration here in the band at the bottom of the cap, but nothing really of that nature. And you also notice there's a gold band here at the bottom of the barrel. This is a cartridge converter fill, so there's no need for that. This is not like a blind cap or any type of filler here, but again, it's to balance out the aesthetics. This pen is, I would say, substantially larger than the green pen, both in length and in girth. That also lends itself, this is probably double the price of the green one. This one sold for over $300 with a gold nib. This has a steel nib in it. I didn't see any postings for the steel nib, so this was probably a one-off run that they did probably a few years ago. And if we take a look at how the sections are on these, you'll notice another difference. Is that in the Americana, the section is the same material as the rest of the pen, which I think increases the cost of manufacturing, because if you make a bunch of these sections out of black, you can use them with a bunch of pens, so therefore you get economy of scale. When you have to do the section in the same material as the pen, that adds costs. It's a very similar shape to the section where the threads are and how that works, so that's interesting how that design element has stayed. A lot of it may have to do with the equipment that they set up. I'm certain a lot of computer controlled lathing is involved in this. Both of these do not have any cap inserts in here for sealing. So there's a little ledge in there that corresponds to the bottom of the section. So when you screw it in, that contacts the cap. And I didn't have any problem with any of these pens drying out over time. They write pretty consistently, pretty well. So the nib and feed combination are nice. I've done just maybe a drive-by on this Equipus, which is one of the first. This is the first Bexley that I bought. I bought it in the 90s from Fountain Pen Hospital in New York City. I got it because I just fell in love with it. Being a vintage person, I like it. And this pen has quality weight and feel to it. The material just feels much better in the hand than the plastic acrylics on the other two Bexleys. One of the things that makes this pen unique is it is a button filler. So they copied the Parker dual fold method of filling. I'm not a fan. This pen has been through 4 different times trying to get the thing to work, including sending it to Bexley. The section is made out of the same material as the barrel, and this just has, like I say, a nice weight and nice feel to it. The thickness of this material is nice compared to the thickness on the other materials. The clip is a little bit more of a solid design. There's no B on the clip. I think that's something Bexley added into their line a little bit later than this. This section unscrews, but the challenge is with the bladder here, which is what it has, the bladder tends a tendency to twist up when you try to screw and take off, and so it took me a while. I had to use a very thin bladder, so this pen does not have much of ink reserve in it. It has a nice 14 karat gold medium nib. This pen used to be in daily rotation, but then I had a lot of trouble with filling and amount of ink capacity. So as I mentioned, we're going to do a little bit of a video viewing of this pen. So I think this section is, the bottom of the cap is done in one piece, but I could be mistaken. You don't really see any threading. There are some threads here, but obviously there's threads for the cap to screw, sorry, for the barrel to screw on. And there's also these circular grooves here. I'm not very certain about it, but I see these also in Franklin Christoph, so it might be part of the manufacturing process. As we go further up the cap, you'll see how the thickness of the cap changes, and that's the little ledge that corresponds to sealing against the section when you screw the cap on. And if we get up to the top where the clip is, you'll notice more threads, because as I said, this top cap here is screwed on to secure the clip. In theory, if there was damage to the clip or you needed to replace the clip, you could unscrew this and that would be a relatively easier process. So I think this is standard 101 fountain pen design when you're working with machine materials like this acrylic, or it could be ebonite, or any number of acrylics that you might be working with. So that's kind of the review. So we're going to now just show you this pen on paper. I'm very happy with the way this nib writes. Like I said, I used this pen during St. Paddy's Day. It's relatively smooth. It has some bite to it. You may hear that in the video. There's no flex, but it's a consistent writer. And with this green ink, it looks nice. It's comfortable in the hand. All in all, it's just a good pen, not a great pen. It's not a pen that I will be in love with. It probably will not go into my daily writers. I'll probably bring it out every St. Paddy's Day, or maybe some short periods of time in between. So hopefully you enjoyed that little view of some pens that you may not have seen before from a manufacturer you may not know about much. You can check out their website, or check out, they sell a lot through distributors. So thank you for watching. And may you have many great pen experiences. May you write for enjoyment. Later. Bye.